So when I dropped the fairing to get to the oil filter and the oil plug, the turn signal lights, this particular right hand turn signal wires came loose. So last night I had to drop that, reach up underneath there and get to the wires and reconnect it. But it's working fine now, so we're good. Also, one of the things I did last night was the kickstand, which was really stiff, trying to get it to come down or to go up. Now I have taken it apart, and what I found was that there are two washers, one behind for the bolt and one in the gap between the kickstand and the actual mount. And that particular washers were backwards. One, the thick washer was put inside, made it real stiff. So I switched the washers up, put the thin one inside. Now you see the kickstand will flap up on its own. It's very easy. It doesn't have much play this way. And I greased it. So kickstand better. I am now going to go ahead and clean and lube the chain. Check the condition of the chain. I looked at the sprocket already. Sprocket looks okay, I guess. Yeah, I'll have to look at that a little closer, but I'm going to look at the chain and sprockets and see how they are. So just a few minutes in, I've got the rear tire removed. I removed the brake caliper. The brake caliper holder came off when the axle came off. It goes through there. I have all the spacers lined up like they're supposed to be, the bolts. And the wheel is off. So now it's time to let all the air out of this tire, break it down, and put a new tire on. So the old tire is off the rim. That old tire was pretty shot. You can see the flat spot here between my fingers. Not quite down to the wear grooves yet, but pretty close. There's the wear bar. There's still a little bit of a distance between the wear bar, but figure it was time. And time to put the new tire on. I tried the last time I put a tire on to catch the pop of it seating on the bead. I'm going to do my best to catch that this time. I love that sound. Alright, new tire on the rim. Time to air it up and try to capture that pop. So this is an air chuck that does not need a Schrader valve to work, so you can put more air faster into the tire. So I do not have the Schrader valve in the valve stem. This works really good for inflating them. Let's see if we can capture the pop sound. Pop. Love that sound. And now the air will start to escape quickly. But the bead will not break. So it's time to put the Schrader valve back in, air the tire up and get it balanced. Once the bead is popped on, it doesn't break when the air comes out, generally speaking, unless you're riding and it wiggles its way off the rim. Alright, Schrader valve's in. I don't remember if this will work with the Schrader valve. Yep, it does. But without the Schrader valve, it's quicker to pop the bead on. So I'm going to put this at about 32, 35-ish. Okay. So that can go right there. One tire mounted. Next step, balancing. That's what's in that box right there. You got to get it set up. So you can see I have the balance dot lined up with the valve stem. Balance dot lined up. There's the weights I put on before to balance this tire the last time I put one on. Let's see where it bottoms out. Alright, so it's going to bottom out somewhere around here. Pull those weights off and see what happens. So I took off the 1/2 ounce of weights that I had on. And let's see what happens. I like to do this on the floor because I know the garage floor is level. So, heavy spot down there somewhere. I'll mark it with a crayon real quick. So once again, I marked the heavy spot directly across. 1/2 ounce of weight. Seems to be balanced pretty good. Seems to stay put. I'm gentle with it. So I'm going to call that good. I'm going to put the weight on. About to start putting the wheel back on the bike. You have to put the sprocket back on, sprocket carrier. And here's another time when a 2x4 chunk of wood could come in handy. Can help you hold the wheel up so you can get the thing lined up pretty easily. So the rear wheel mounted, balanced, installed. Brake caliper back, working, cleaned. I've cleaned the chain already. Now I'm going to dry it down a little bit, put some lube on the chain. It's a little gritty still. I'll probably clean it a little better. And then I'll put some lube on the chain, and we will move on to the front wheel. So I have the front tire off, and this tire has 2 issues, 3 issues. There's some extreme cupping going on. Not sure if you can tell, but there's a lot of cupping right here. This is not even. The wear bars have been reached on the front tire. And if you look down in these, let's see if I can find a good spot to show you. If you look down right here, there's some drywall. There's a little bit of cracking going on. You can see the cracking in the grooves, and even a bit maybe on the sidewall. Not so bad on the sidewall, but you can see some absolute little tiny bitty cracks up in here. So this tire is definitely time to go as well. So that's the next step. So Lisa has these, I don't know, they used to call them fireflies, that go over the valve core, valve stem. And as they swing around, they're supposed to light up and make like a colored lighted stripe at your wheels. I am going to recommend that she does not put those back on, because that's not super heavy, but it's weight, extra weight pulling on your valve stem, and it can tear up the valve stem after a while. Now the valve stem on the rear was fine. I'll check this one when I let the air out here in a second, but I'm going to recommend she does not put these back on. Time to let the air out. I do that simply by removing the Schrader valve. And we get to hear the oops, this one's kind of tight. There we go. Oh, I guess if you turn it the right way it works. Hey, emptied out. Had to put it up on the stand and break it down. Once again, 2x4s are our friends. These 2x4s are keeping it so that the disc doesn't hit the metal plate down there. So they give me some, raise it up a little bit so as not to damage anything. And I guess it's time to bust the bead. Probably seen this before, but real quickly I just so I know it takes a little bit of time, but I usually do it in 3 places. In this case I didn't even need the bar the second time. Okay, that's one side. Flip it over. Do the other side. Didn't even need the bar on that one. Usually the first time on either side, you at least need to use the bar. Sometimes on all of them. Okay. Bead's broken. Next we'll mount it up here and remove it from the rim. So one more time, let's see if we can hear a double pop. Alright, want to hear it go pop, pop. Nope, heard one. Heard two. Put the Schrader valve back in. Put it up to about 35 pounds. Okay, to about 35 pounds. Unplug the compressor and we'll go ahead and get this tire put back on. Alright, so we did a lot on this bike so far. We did the spark plug change, the air filter change, the oil change, 2 tires, mounted, balanced, installed. And we had to pull that fairing, the wires back loose to fix a turn signal. We lubed up the kickstand, greased it up, and got the washers right so it's correct. Cleaned and lubed the chain. So this bike's looking pretty good now. Last but not least, we have a set of handlebars to install. I found several things that were damaged. That shift lever is bent. Not a whole lot, but it is bent. I mean the brake lever, I'm sorry. Brake lever is bent, but not bad. This lever is pretty bent. This lever is really bent. The shift lever also is pretty bent. So it's working okay, it's not hitting anything. This lever is, but that will be adjusted when this moves in closer to the controls on the new set of handlebars. So we'll take a break now, get something to eat, and then we'll come back and do the handlebars. And I'd actually like to have Lisa here for that so that I can adjust the levers and the bars to her preferences. So anyway, what a mess I make when I do work, huh? Look at this crap. I got stuff everywhere. Take me a long time just to pick up after myself. So here we are several days later. I've done the tires, mounted and balanced. I've checked the brake pads. I've lubed, cleaned, adjusted the chain. We replaced the spark plugs, the air filter, and did an oil change. Everything is looking good to this point. Last step today will be to replace these handlebars. They're kind of bent. You can see the big bend on this one perhaps. Let's see if I can get a better view there, but that bend was from where they were dropped. Nice smooth arc there. This one is bent in this way. You see the levers also really bent up pretty bad on both of these where it's been dropped. I mean, the curve looks pretty much exactly the same on both sides. However, you can see that the bar end weight has hit the ground, and probably on this side too. Yeah, you can see where the bar end weight is scratched up from having hit the ground. So we're going to go ahead and get her handlebars replaced. That is today's job, and that should finish it up. So I have the bike off the stands, and that's because I'm going to want to be able to move these handlebars to make sure I can get the levers and stuff off easily. And what I'm going to first start with is loosening, taking the bar end weights off, taking this holder off, and loosening up all of the switches and the levers and all that. It's easier while the handlebars are still tight. Then I'll loosen this and then remove everything. Loosen the pinch bolts here. So I'm starting with the bar end weights. Pretty easy. I don't know if these will be able to go back on the other handlebars. We may have to get a different set of weights. The phone holder was simply a thumb screw. Loosen it up, unclip it, take it off. No problem there. The switches are like so many of the other ones. A couple of Phillips screws. I like to use the little stubby. You can hold it up tight against the screw head so that you don't strip them out and you got a little more room to work. There we go. So this is now loose. Well, that's an interesting one. Looks like there's a cap on the bottom. Might have to completely remove the bottom piece. And we'll move on to the levers. Excuse me. So sometimes the grips are tough and you can just twist them off. Other times you have to, I've sometimes opened this up, put a little WD-40 in. This one's moving, so I think I'll be able to get it off without any real problems. A little bit of tugging, a little bit of twisting, and it's coming. The other grip, of course, is over the throttle tube, so I won't even have to remove that. I shouldn't have to. All right, there's a grip. So there's one cap that I have to pop loose and then loosen up the handlebars and remove all the fittings. I want to make sure to keep this brake cylinder upright when I take it off. So I'll probably get a bungee cord and strap it to the mirror over there. Looks like it'll work. Let's just break them loose. All right, they're loose. I think what I'll do is remove this first so I can actually keep that lined up well. Go find a bungee cord. I have a zip tie or two, but actually I think the zip tie will work just fine. Well, it looks like I'll just let that sit there for a minute. Maybe I have to remove this as well. So let's go ahead and thread out these screws. Can't quite get that yet. So let me see if I can loosen these up just a touch more. Maybe even just remove them completely for the moment. They have arrow indicators showing them which way they're supposed to go. Let's see. Well, looks like I'm going to have to completely remove it. That'll stay for the moment. I will line these up so that I put them back the same direction, same side that they're on. Okay, and just until we are able to put it back together, I want to use a zip tie to hold this brake lever pretty much in the right position. A tie strap here. And I'm okay with that. That will stay pretty much upright. Well, I guess since I'm here, might as well remove this gear. One switch, and clutch lever perch. Alright, one set of handlebars. Bent set of handlebars. I notice there's a hole in here, probably to line something up, but we'll take a look at that in a minute. So these handlebars are very similar in size and shape. This is lined up. That bend looks very, very similar. Of course, this bend is whacked, but these are a touch longer. The cut grooves are just a tiny bit inside. I don't think that should make a whole lot of difference. These little ridges to help make sure they don't twist on you. But anyway, they are the same. I assume that's a 7/8 inch handlebar. So we will go ahead and start putting them back on. So both handlebars have a hole in kind of the same place. And like I said, these teeth are a little bit different. The only big difference that she's going to have to get is a different set of bar end weights. These have threads in there, and I don't believe that's an insert. That's mounted into the handlebar, whereas this does not. So she'll have to get a set of generic bar end weights, and they're quick to install. I'll do that when she arrives. Just a quick pic of the motorcycle without handlebars. So I know these came off last, so I will put those on first, slide the handlebar this way, put those on second, snug, not snug, but just get the bolts in there, then place them in place and start getting them tight. Okay, so I'm going to try to slip this back together. And like I said, these came off first. I want to put them back on. Oops. Grips are the last thing you'll deal with. Alright, these go back on nicely. Now, this is the trick. I have to snip that. You know what, I'm going to loosen this up a little bit more. No, it's not that. I don't want to stretch the piece too far. Shit. Keep that throttle lined up. There we go. Beautiful. I think what I'll do is try to snug these just put the bolts back in before I snip that off. Alright, so okay. There we go. Oops, 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 oops. I don't want that to get all out of whack there. Alright. Let me put these bolts down here just to hold it in place. I've checked the torque specs on here. These are 17 foot-pounds. And I'll see about using that, but I'm also going to put a little Loctite on these once I get it in. Just want to hold them kind of in place while I snug up the rest of this stuff. And there is a proper way to do this. Right now I am just simply snugging them to hold them in place. Okay, so they are twisting just a touch. I don't want that to happen. So pinch them down ever so slightly. Oops, ever so slightly. Okay. Now we'll work on getting these things straightened out. The lever. So I've got all the switch gear. Levers are loose. But what I've got to do is I got to try to set this up for Lisa. I think I'm going to have to turn these handlebars back this way a little bit for her. And in order to do that, I just realized I better put the seat on there. I'll sit on it and I'll try to figure it out. So on the seat, there was this rubber piece stuck on there to help keep this thing from vibrating. I don't know why it was there. It wouldn't fit in tight so that these would line up with the bolt holes. So once I took it out and I put the seat back, well, put the seat in, now these line up good and secure. And the seat doesn't wiggle, so I'm going to remove this. It was taped on some rubber pieces. I think they did that because they didn't have 2 bolts and they could only put 1 bolt in. I'm going to look about getting another bolt on here. So I found a couple of bolts, new ones that'll fit. I'm going to make it the same bolt, or rather one in Allen and one in actual bolt. And I had to put a couple of small washers on there. So at least this way I use the same tool to remove them both. And this seat will be nice and snug. Again, I think that's why they had the rubber piece in there, because they couldn't make the seat fit all the way to the front. They couldn't make these brackets fit tight because they didn't have a second bolt. So get these snugged up with my fingers. Just give them a quick tug and they'll be good. They snugged up real nice and the seat doesn't move. So that's good. I'll put the tail section on too since I'm at it. So the tail section is released by a key. And when I put it on, there's a gap there. Not sure that I like that, but at the same time, I need to know this seat is fitting very tight and both bolts are in. Maybe that's why they did that, so they could push this back and remove that gap. I'm thinking there's maybe supposed to be some other piece of plastic in here. I'll look at that later, but at the moment, this I'm going to leave it. Now it's time to get the handlebars adjusted to what I think they should be for Lisa. So let's see what we can do here. Well, that feels pretty good for me. I think maybe they need to come back this way slightly. These levers need to be adjusted. But I got a little crook in my elbow. If I would have put them any more forward. Not sure. I think maybe just a touch back this way. I'm going to go ahead and do that when I tighten them up. Alright, so I got Lisa here. We're going to adjust the handlebars. See where she likes them. Let me just get the socket for that. I believe it's this one. Oh no, just sit on it. Okay. Yeah, you do. See how you like that. Don't move them too much. Oh. Move me one.
Whatever this is right here.
That's about right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Alright, so that's pretty good. We'll call that good. Now let's see about these levers. And levers can be turned up and down. So let's start with, excuse me. Oh God, excuse me. Let's start with the brake lever.
Okay.
Where's your hand most comfortable sitting on there?
Right here. Maybe a little up. A little bit.
Up?
Yes.
This way?
Oh, that's a good.
Just do just one at a time. Yeah, don't pull on it. Don't lean on the handlebars. Don't lean on them.
Don't lean on it?
They'll move.
Okay. I'm just trying to see like the position I'm going to be in. I'm going to be mostly like
Gotcha.
this. Yeah.
So like this?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so let me get just the right one for that. Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and get the handlebars torqued down. I'm gonna use blue semi-permanent Loctite. Start at 15. I think it said 17, but I'm probably gonna go 20.
For the torque.
Yeah. Okay, those are gonna be good. So, next up we'll snug up this lever. And this is done with these.
And that don't have to have the
No.
the weight.
Nope, that should be pretty good. So last thing we gotta do. Last thing we're gonna do is put those bar end weights on.
Oh, okay.
So first step on these is to put this little ring in. And it's got to be set back up in there a bit. Just so happens this socket works really good for that. All right. All right, bar end weights installed. Handlebars adjusted, levers adjusted. Everything is good. All that's left to do is ride it.
I can do it. I can do it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and take it on a quick ride just down the block, if it starts.
Uh-oh. As it starts.
Oh yeah. So Lisa's bike is all set, and she's gonna ride home hopefully before the storm catches her.
Yes.
It's getting pretty cloudy out there. Again, Lisa, be careful on those tires. It'll probably take 100 miles of riding,
Okay.
in the corners especially, and if it gets wet especially.
If it gets wet.
Yeah.
Which is technically
Just-
what might be happening short.
Yeah, just be very, very careful.
All right. Well,
Everything else is good. If you have any questions about anything, give me a call.
I definitely will.
All right, Lisa. This is gonna go find another garage to live in for a while.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Oh, one last thing to do.
What's that?
I have to snip those two tie straps where I tightened up the wires under there.
Okay.
I want to snip those two red tie straps. Bye-bye. Nice to meet you. That's a Maserati.